Okay, hi everyone. This video is making this video to show you all how to outline a textbook chapter. If you've watched the video on how to study, one of the things I really push for is people outlining chapters, and there are a couple reasons why I do that. Number one, it gets you into the book, and it gives you something to do while you're reading the book. A lot of people, I don't think there are a lot of people that can just sit in a library with a book in their lap and read and actually get anything from it. I'm not saying there aren't, but I'm certainly not one of those people, and I think there are a lot of people that would agree with me that just sitting with a book in my lap in the library or somewhere, it just doesn't do it for me. So in my philosophy of learning, one of the things I think people need to do to learn is to do something while they are studying. And one of the things I kind of push is outlining textbooks. And so what I would do, the other thing about outlining textbooks is so number one, it gives you something to do, and number two, it forces you to think about the material, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to copy what's in the text into your outline. Okay, you don't do that. What you do is you read the text, you think about it, and then in your own words write down points that are important for that topic in that section that you're outlining. Okay, and this will all make sense later in a second. But that's kind of hard to do. And so what it does is it forces you to think about it, and it forces you to understand what you're outlining. If all you do is just copy sentences from a book, you're not really doing any learning. You're just copying, and that's kind of a mindless activity. You don't really have to think about the material to copy a book. So just think about, if you were, I'm certainly no physicist, but if my job was to copy a book about string theory, I don't have to understand string theory to be able to copy it. But if someone asked me to take this book about string theory and write it so that a group of high school kids could understand it, that's going to be a little difficult for me, because I don't have a good grasp of string theory, okay, or any other topic for that matter that I don't understand. That's going to be hard for me to do. And so that's kind of what you're doing when you outline, is you're making a short summary of what's in the textbook, but you're not making an exact copy. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out about textbooks is that they are very organized. I've never seen a textbook that's not organized like this, and it's, typically what you'll have is you'll have a chapter, and then within those chapters you might have large sections that cover a broad topic. So this is from our Biology 141 text, and the third section in this text is Concept 1.3, Section 3. In studying nature, scientists make observations to form and test hypotheses. So this is about the scientific method. Now within this section we have subsections: making observations, forming and testing hypotheses. In the forming and testing hypotheses section, we've got a subsection of that called deductive reasoning. And we've got another one called questions that can and cannot be addressed by science. And we're just going to focus on this page, but it could go on and on. So what we do, the first thing we do is we form kind of a hierarchy in our notebook. So let's just go to a blank Word page, or if you use Pages, you can use that. I always like to title my stuff. Chapter 1, outline chapter 1. And then I like to put the chapter title, which is, I don't want to move off of this page. I'm just going to look at my hard cover, my hard copy. Chapter 1 is Evolution, the themes inquiry. Okay, and so I like to just do that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my text, and I'm going to use Roman numerals to indicate the sections of the chapter. So if you look in your Biology 141 text, you'll see that this particular chapter has 4 large sections. They call them concepts. Section 1 is a study of life reveals common themes. Concept 2 is the core theme, evolution accounts for the unity and diversity of life. And then section 3, which is the one we're going to outline, is in studying nature, scientists make observations, inform, and test hypotheses. That's the one we're going to outline. And then section 4 is science benefits from a cooperative approach and diverse viewpoints. Okay, so previous to this, I would have outlined section 1 and section 2 if that was part of my assigned reading or part of the material that the professor covered or whatever. But we're just going to pretend we've done all that. We're on section 3. Okay, now I'm going to push the space bar, and probably what we're going to see, nope, it's not doing it. Sometimes what you might see is the auto format. If it auto formats, just hit Control Z and it'll undo that auto formatting. But I've got that turned off. I don't like it to auto format because I like to format the things the way I want to do it. So section 3, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to type in the title. And I'm just going to kind of do like this. In studying nature, scientists make observations, inform, and test hypotheses. Okay, a little typo here. I'm just going to correct that. Okay, now normally what I would do is I would then just do a quick indent. I like to set my indents at 0.25, but if you can use 0.5, it doesn't matter. I like to type the subsections using the Arabic letter A. See, it auto-formatted. I'm just going to undo Control Z. Now, a subsection is making observations. Okay, so what we could do, just go making observations, and then we would tab over one more, and we'd start putting our points. Well, what happens is we're missing all of this right here, so we want to include that, but that's not really a separate section. So what if it doesn't have a section, if the first section does not have a separate title, what I do is I just call it, I'll just call it introduction. Okay, just to keep my formatting right. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this auto formatting here. No, I'm not. I want that to stop creating numbers. There we go. And again, we're going to do introduction. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to focus on this. Let me just kind of, we're focusing on this part of the text right there. Okay? Okay. Now the first thing I want to do in any section, tab over twice, anything that's in bold, I want to define, because usually those are usually vocabulary words that are important to know. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to choose the bold. I can hit Control B, or you can hit here, and I'm just going to put science. Take the bold off, dash, and then I'm just going to copy that word for word. So any definitions I copy word for word. And I'm just going to say an approach to knowing, a way of knowing, and an approach to understanding the natural world. Okay. Next one, there was another one, inquiry. So I'm going to bold that, inquiry, unbold, dash, space, dash, space. And now you can either use a definition here, you can look in the back of the book. I'm just going to use this definition here. And I'm going to kind of pull this off to the side so I can copy it. So a search for information and explanations of natural phenomena. Okay, so that's the only time I ever copy anything directly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look here and I'm going to say I've got about 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. Okay, this paragraph here, I'm going to just look at it without even reading it, and I'm going to say I'm going to try to summarize that paragraph in no more than 2 sentences. Okay, so I'm going to just scoot this over. We're going to read this. Okay, I'm going to read it kind of slow. I'll give you a chance to read this. Just read this first paragraph. Okay. Okay, so I've read that. I read it a couple times, and I'm going to say I'm going to use 2 things, okay? Because in that paragraph, what I pulled from that paragraph is that people have a curiosity about things around them, things that they see. They want to understand how they work. We have, as an organism, a basic urge to understand things, and that science is one of the techniques that we can use to understand things around us. So I'm going to summarize that paragraph in 2 of my own sentences. So I'm going to say people have a basic urge to understand things that exist and or occur around them. Okay. Science is a method by which people can use to investigate and learn about the world around them. Okay? Now you'll notice that if you read those 2 sentences, that's exactly what's being said in this first paragraph. Okay? But I said it in 2 different ways. Okay, so what I had to do is I had to read this, I had to understand what it was saying, and then, and only then, could I summarize what was going on here. Okay? Or summarize what I wrote here. Now, if I didn't understand this enough to do this, that means I don't understand it. Okay? So that would be something where I would then say, okay, I need to read this a couple more times. Maybe I need to get on the internet and see if I can find some other sources to help me understand what I'm reading in this little paragraph here. Maybe I can ask my classmates, or I can go ask my professor, or something like that. Okay? Now, the next thing that I would do is I would go through and I'd look at this second paragraph here and I'd say, I'm going to try to get that in about 3. Now, if you read through it and you decide, there's a lot of information there, I'm probably going to try for 4. Okay? What you're doing is you're putting limits on what you can write, because what you don't want to do, again, you don't want to just copy. That's a waste of your time. It doesn't help you learn anything. Okay? So for this second paragraph, I would read through it. I'm just going to put point 1, point 2, point 3. Okay? let's do paragraph 2-1, paragraph 2-1, paragraph 2 dash, sorry, not 1 but 2 and -3. Okay, then I would go to this last paragraph here and I do the same thing. Let's say we get that in 2 points. So paragraph point P3-1 and sentence P3-2. Okay, now what I would do is I'm still in this concept, but now I'm moving to a different subsection. So now what I do is I tab over under my letters, type in B period space, and making observations. Okay, for my first point, under making observations, I'm going to go through and I'm going to look to see if there's any bold letters, bold words. Okay, and you can also include I would also include italicized words. So here we've got a bunch of stuff here. So in making observations, we've got data. We've got, I'm going to go ahead and include this guy right here, qualitative. Here's another italicized word, quantitative. And then we had another phrase, inductive reasoning. So now what I would do is I'd go and I'd read data. So we just go recorded observations. These are, again, just a definition. Okay, qualitative, recorded or data in the form of descriptions. Quantitative, we come over. Data in the form of numerical measurements. Okay. Then inductive reasoning. We need to look that up in the back of the book. Well, let's do that. Glossary item, click to view. Let's do that. Let's just go to the glossary and we just type that, a type of logic. A type of logic in which generalizations are based on a large number of specific observations. Now you can format this so it doesn't hang over like that. We'll just leave it like this. If you're interested in formatting to make this a little easier, I can help you with that. But if not, you don't worry about it. Just get the information down. Okay. So in that section we had those vocabulary words. Now what I would do is go to point 5, and now we go through a paragraph. So this paragraph here, let's say we have 3 points. So I'm just going to be P1-1, P1-2, P1-3, P1- oh wait, we said 3, didn't we? Okay. Then I go to my second paragraph, which is pretty big. Let's say 3 points there as well. Okay, so we go paragraph 2.1, paragraph 2.2, paragraph 2.3, and then the last paragraph, let's say we get 2. Okay, we can get 2 points out of there. Okay, so just understand that these are going to be the sentences that I typed up here. Okay, that's what these represent. Okay, I just didn't want to make this an hour-long video where you're watching me outline a chapter. Okay. The next thing we do is after we get done with our last point there, C, forming and testing hypotheses. Okay. And number 1, look for any vocabulary words which hypothesis is there. So we type in hypothesis. And then write its definition in there. And then we have our points. Okay. So we go through the first paragraph, and we decide, okay, I'm going to try to get that, summarize that in 2 sentences, blah, blah, blah. Summarize the second paragraph in 2 sentences, maybe 3 sentences here, maybe 2 sentences here. Okay? Again, it doesn't matter the number, you just want to kind of take a guess, because that kind of gives you some limits on how you think, and it helps you to think more intently about what you're gonna read. Okay? For this subsection, so deductive reasoning is a subsection of forming and testing hypotheses, what we would do is when we got to that point, we just continue the number here, and we just say deductive reasoning. And then usually what I do is I do A, and then this would be point paragraph 1-1. Okay, so deductive reasoning, let's see, that's got 2 kind of big paragraphs, so let's say 3 there. Okay, so we'd have P1-1, P1-2, P1-3, P2-1. Hope this makes sense. I'm just trying to shorthand everything. P2-3. Okay, so that just means paragraph 2 has 3 points that you can make. Paragraph 1 has 3 points that you can make. All right, and then if there were any definitions there, you would have put them obviously here. Let's say terms, definition, and then that sort of stuff. Okay, which we didn't really see anything. Oh, deductive reasoning. Yeah, so we could have put deductive reasoning and put its definition, and then continue with the points. All right. Yeah, so that's how you outline a chapter. And again, what it does is it gives you something to do while you're reading, and it helps you and it forces you to think about the material that you're reading as you read it. Because again, as long as you're not copying, because if you're just copying, you're wasting your time. If you're summarizing, you have to think, you have to understand what you're reading in order to summarize something. The last point I want to make about outlining a chapter is the other thing you can do, and in my how to study video, what I point out is that it's very beneficial if you do this outlining immediately after, or as soon as possible after you cover the material. So let's say you're in class, and let's say you're in my class, and we covered section 1-3, okay, in the class. Okay, sometime before the end of that day, and sooner than later, you want to sit down and outline that section of the book. Well, also what you'd want to do is any notes that you took that pertain to what you're outlining should go in there as well. So let's say we're looking at paragraph 2 and the introduction to section 3. Okay, I would also say, now this would be point 7, note 1. Maybe I had 2 notes about that. Note 2. Okay, that would make that 9, 10, 11. Let's say I had a note for what's discussed in paragraph 3. Okay, you would add those in there. Because now what you're going to do, see, if let's say this outline here took up an entire page. Okay, well, if we come back here, we're taking a page and a, see, that a page and a half. Yeah, we're essentially taking up a page and a half, maybe a little bit more, of text and slimming it down into a page of an outline. So that's a big reduction from this to this. So now the weekend, let's say you've done this the entire time, and it's the weekend before the exam. Now you can just sit in library or at home and just go over your outline, because you've incorporated the notes. You could go through and make sure that you still understand what you wrote. If maybe you go back and you go to study this section, I'm starting to lose my voice. And let's say you go back and review the section, and you read these two sentences and you think, I don't really remember what that was for. Well, you can go back, read that section. Oh yeah, I remember what that was about. And then you understand it. So I think this is a really good way to study. I mean, it's for me. A lot of gurus on studying in college, if you read blogs and stuff like that, they all suggest, or I shouldn't say they all, but a lot of them do suggest outlining chapters. And it's what I did. And when I started outlining chapters, my grades started to improve quite a bit, because I was able to meet myself where I was, rather than trying to study how I thought I should study. I started studying in a way that worked for me, and it turned out great. I mean, I started performing much better in my courses. So hopefully this will help. I know it's been kind of a long video. We're looking at almost 30 minutes now, but I think if you get in the habit of doing this, I think you'll find it very helpful. And let me know if this has helped you or not, either in my classes or other classes that you take. So have a good day, and if you want any more help with outlining, again, always stop by. Take care.